He said he lost his memory just because he went to buy me a birthday cake. I believed him. I cried. I tried everything to help him remember our love for 4 years. But then, one fateful night, I heard him say it himself. Pretending to lose your memory was a great move. Aurelia was too proud. She deserved it. And from that moment on, I was no longer the girl I used to be. The moment Aurelia stepped into that bar, she had no idea her world was about to split in two. All she wanted was to hand Santiago a photo album, just a small collection of memories from their time volunteering at a rural school. Maybe, just maybe, it could help him remember her. After all, he'd hit his head buying her a birthday cake. The accident had erased their entire love story. Or so she believed. She still clung to the hope that somewhere deep inside, the boy who once looked at her like she was his entire world might come back. But then she heard it. Who would have thought pretending to lose my memory would work so well? Santiago's voice cut through the noise like a dagger. Her feet froze. Her heart did too. Aurelia's too proud, he continued, laughing arrogantly. She wants to control everything. Women like that, they need to be knocked down a peg. Around him, his friends howled with laughter. Man, you really gave Daniela her design? And Aurelia didn't even fight back. You sure know how to handle girls, another guy joked. But what if she finds out the truth? Santiago didn't even flinch. She won't. Benjamin is covering for me. It's foolproof. Benjamin, their mutual friend. Santiago's roommate. The richest, most untouchable heir on campus. Aurelia turned quietly, swallowed the scream rising in her throat, and left without a word. In the car, curled in Benjamin's arms, she whispered, "Maybe I should move on too." He didn't answer. His silence said enough. He already knew. 3 months had passed since Santiago's accident, and Aurelia had clung to every excuse not to give up. He'd once treated her so well. He was buying her a cake, for God's sake. That had to mean something. But hearing him laugh so smug, so calculated, shattered the last thread of denial she had left. Inside that private bar room, they joked about her like she was some pathetic ex. "She's the only one still talking about true love," someone sneered. "Everyone else already has multiple girlfriends." "Santiago, you're a genius," another one said. "The cake story? Brilliant. You even got to use her design for your new girl." Santiago smirked. "We're heading to Scandinavia after graduation. Northern Lights. I figured she'd like that." A single tear slid down Aurelia's cheek. Scandinavia had been her dream. A place she once begged Santiago to visit with her. She believed that if they saw the aurora together, they'd never be apart again. He remembered. But he wasn't taking her. He was taking Daniela. When someone finally asked, "So, how long are you going to keep faking it with Aurelia?" Santiago leaned back and answered coldly, "Let her wait. I finally have my freedom. I'm going to enjoy it. She loves me too much to ever leave." That night, Aurelia didn't scream. She didn't confront him. She simply walked out into the night, tossed the photo album into a trash can, and wiped her tears away like they were dust. The next moment, she was inside a nail salon, getting a soft lavender manicure. Then she dined alone at her favorite restaurant, ordered her favorite dish, and even smiled at the waiter. It was nearly 10 when she stepped outside to hail a taxi. Her phone buzzed wildly inside her purse. It was Benjamin. Of course it was. He was probably wondering why she hadn't showed up at the bar. After all, he was the one who told her Santiago would be there. "Aurelia," he sounded nervous. "Where are you? Your roommate said you didn't go back to the dorm. You weren't at the bar either. Are you okay?" She glanced down, hiding the bitter smile forming on her lips. So they were starting to worry. "Good. I was hungry, so I came here to eat," she said casually. Then, pretending to hesitate, she asked, "Is Santiago still there?" A pause. "No. He's home now. Aurelia, it's really late. You shouldn't head back to campus. Just go straight home, okay?" She let out a short, silent laugh. "All right." He asked where she was. She gave him the restaurant's name. Less than 10 minutes later, a sleek black Bugatti pulled up to the curb. Benjamin stepped out, his usual calm replaced with something more unsettled. He opened the passenger door for her without a word. As she slid in, she glanced sideways. He looked like he wanted to say something but bit it back. The drive was silent, the tension thick. Aurelia stared out the window, the city lights blurring like streaks of memory she no longer wanted. Santiago's betrayal had finally sunk in, not as a moment of heartbreak, but as a quiet death. And now, Benjamin, the only one who could have stopped it all, was sitting beside her, pretending he hadn't helped bury the knife in her back. The moment Aurelia stepped into Benjamin's car, something shifted. His flawless face appeared under the glow of the streetlights, quiet and unreadable. "Get in," he said, his voice cool and dead, so different from the man who had just sounded so desperate on the phone. It was as if the concerned Benjamin had vanished, replaced by the aloof crown prince of Santiago's circle once again. She obeyed without a word. The car moved through traffic smoothly, its engine purring like it belonged to another world, one far removed from heartbreak. Benjamin didn't speak. He rarely did. And tonight, Aurelia didn't want to talk either. Silence filled the space between them, broken only by the soft rhythm of their breathing. Then she saw it. A flash of pink, half hidden beneath the center console. Curious, she leaned forward. A dress. And not just any dress. It was hers. She recognized the delicate stitching along the waistline. And that wine stain she had spilled it herself during a dinner with Santiago and his colleagues. Daniela had been there that night too, pretending to be friendly until her accidental bump sent Aurelia's drink cascading onto her lap. Santiago had apologized, said he'd take care of it, and asked for the dress so he could have it cleaned. She had handed it over and forgotten all about it. Until now. And it was in Benjamin's car. Her heart thudded. Her cheeks flushed. Before she could speak, Benjamin's voice cut through the tension. "We're here." He pulled into the parking lot of her building. She reached for the door, but his arms caught her. In one swift motion, he wrapped her tightly against his chest. "Why didn't you answer my messages today?" His voice was low, almost pleading. "I forgot to check my phone," she lied. He didn't believe her. His grip tightened, his breath warm against her neck. "Have you remembered anything yet?" She laughed bitterly. "No. He still doesn't remember me. Or maybe he just doesn't care." Benjamin didn't let go. "It was my fault," he murmured above her head. "If I hadn't let him go that day to buy the cake, none of this would have happened." But his lips brushed too close to her skin, and his voice dipped too low, too intimate. The air inside the car grew thick with something unspoken. She pulled back slightly, enough to see his eyes glassy and vulnerable. "Aurelia," he whispered. "Can it be me? You've done everything for Santiago, and he still treats you like nothing. He doesn't see you. But I do. I always have." She stared at him, startled. "I'm cleaner than him. And I'm better looking," he said with a crooked grin. "You know it's true." In that moment, Benjamin didn't look like the cold air of a powerful family. He looked like a boy who had waited too long, loved too quietly, and finally let the truth slip. And part of her, some hidden, dark part, wondered, did Santiago know that the friend he trusted most was looking at her like this? Touching her like this? Maybe he should. Benjamin, after all, had been there all along. Always lingering near, never too close but never far. He followed them shopping, came along on their dates, made excuses just to stay nearby. At first, Aurelia thought it was coincidence. But it wasn't. His eyes had always been on her. Even when Santiago wasn't. Especially then. When Santiago lost his memory, something changed. He didn't just forget her, humiliated her. Every time they crossed paths, he treated her like she was beneath him. Called her boring. Plain. Not his type. "If I ever loved someone," he'd said one day with a smirk, "it wouldn't be a girl like you. Daniela is what I want, pure, beautiful, not clingy." That moment had been etched into Aurelia's memory like a scar. Everyone had been there. His friends. Hers. Daniela, of course. She had stepped forward, taken Santiago's arm, and whispered, "She cheated on you, remember? I've always been the one who loved you." The way they all looked at Eros, if she were some desperate fool, still burned. But back then, she believed it was her fault. That the cake, the accident, the memory loss, it was all because of her. She fell sick. Fevered. Broken. That's when Benjamin appeared. He told her it wasn't just Santiago's fault. He blamed himself too. "If I had stopped him that day," he said, none of this would have happened. He promised he'd help her fix everything. He moved into the apartment she'd rented near campus.
Said it was easier to help that way.
She was too exhausted to argue. He cooked for her.
Cleaned.
Took care of everything. She woke up one morning to find her favorite breakfast waiting beside the bed. Another day, he brought her snacks from the small store across town she thought no one remembered. And when she finally realized he had been washing her clothes, including her underwear, for days, she flushed red and stammered, "You don't have to do this. I'm okay now." Really?
He didn't argue.
He just looked at her. And in that gaze was something raw. "Aurelia," he said, "have you ever thought that maybe Santiago was able to forget you so easily because he never really loved you in the first place?" She looked at him, stunned. "But I'm not like that," he continued. "You know that, don't you? I always liked you. Always." She had no words, because deep down she already knew. Maybe she had always known. Time didn't stop for heartbreak. Before she realized it, May had arrived. The campus was filled with a strange mixture of excitement and melancholy. Graduation photos, last-minute goodbyes, promises that would likely fade. For Aurelia, everything felt quieter, colder, but not numb. Something inside her had awakened. Since that night, the night she asked Benjamin to sleep beside her, everything changed. Not just between them, but within her. She wasn't chasing Santiago anymore. She wasn't mourning. She was watching, calculating, preparing. The memories she once treasured now served as fuel for something sharper. Benjamin played his role perfectly. To the outside world, they were a new couple, sweet, surprising, and tense. To Aurelia, he was still the man who had cared for her when no one else had, who stayed when her world collapsed, who looked at her not with pity, but with desire, and perhaps love. But love wasn't enough anymore. Not when betrayal had cracked open every illusion she once held sacred. Late one evening, as Benjamin drove her home from a quiet dinner, Aurelia turned to him and asked, "Do you still talk to Santiago every day?" He kept his eyes on the road. "Sometimes." "Does he still ask about me?" Benjamin hesitated. "Not as often." She didn't press further. She already knew the answer. She had seen every message, every smug line Santiago typed, every lie, every fantasy about Daniela in that ridiculous kitten outfit, every plan to come back to her once he got bored. He thought she'd wait. He was wrong. 2 weeks later, the results of the scholarship design competition were announced. Aurelia's name topped the list. Her restored design, the one Santiago had tried to erase, was praised for its originality, emotion, and technical excellence. Daniela's version, hastily stitched together with stolen inspiration, wasn't even mentioned. Aurelia stood silently as the professors congratulated her. She didn't smile. Not until she saw Santiago's face across the courtyard. Shock. Confusion. And then anger. He approached, dragging Daniela behind him. "Aurelia," he said, voice tight, "why didn't you tell me you were competing again?" She looked him in the eye, her expression unreadable. "Why would I?" Daniela's face contorted. "You said she wasn't interested anymore. That she gave up." "Clearly," Aurelia replied coldly. "You misunderstood. I just stopped caring about what either of you think." She walked away, without another glance. Behind her, Santiago stood frozen. Daniela called after him, voice trembling, "Santi, let's go." But he didn't move. That night, Benjamin didn't come home right away. He texted her that he had errands to run. Aurelia sat alone at the kitchen table, flipping through her notebook. In the margin of one page, she had scribbled, "Some endings don't need closure. They need consequences." Around midnight, Benjamin finally walked in. He looked exhausted, his tie askew, shirt half untucked. She poured him tea, without a word. As he sat down, she asked quietly, "Did Santiago say anything?" Benjamin looked at her, his expression unreadable. "He's shaken. I think today scared him." She raised an eyebrow. "Scared him how? He didn't expect you to move on. To win. To not need him." She leaned back in her chair. "Good." A silence stretched between them. Then Benjamin said, almost cautiously, "He asked me again if you found out. And I told him no." Her eyes narrowed. You're still lying for him? He met her gaze. I'm lying for you. She didn't respond right away. Then, with a whisper, do you love me, Benjamin?
His jaw tightened.
I do. Even knowing I'm not the same girl who cried for Santiago? Especially because of that. She reached across the table and touched his hand. Then promise me something. Anything. Let him dig his own grave. Benjamin's lips curved into something dark. He already has. The next morning, news broke on campus forums. Daniela had been disqualified from the scholarship program due to plagiarism. Santiago's group tried to contain the scandal, but it was too late. Screenshots of files, timelines, even chat logs somehow found their way online. No one could deny it now. The queen had fallen and her king was suddenly very, very silent. Benjamin showed Aurelia the posts without comment. She only smiled. Quiet. Satisfied. That afternoon, Santiago messaged Benjamin again. Benja, it's over. Daniela's been humiliated. She won't talk to me. Aurelia, she's colder than ever. I think she knows that. What do I do? Benjamin replied with one line. Maybe now you'll remember what losing someone truly feels like. Santiago didn't answer. That night, Aurelia slept soundly for the first time in months. And beside her, Benjamin watched her sleep not as a victor, not as a savior, but as a man who finally understood. Love wasn't about proving worth. It was about staying when others walked away. And maybe, just maybe, she was starting to see that too. Santiago had gone feral. The way he banged on the door sounded like he'd lost all reason. Fists slamming against wood, curses tearing from his throat. Benja, open the damn door. I swear if you don't, before the security guards could show up and turn the commotion into a scene, Benjamin unlocked the door and pulled it open. The hallway light spilled into the room, catching Santiago mid-swing. He froze. His breath hitched. His eyes landed on Aurelia hair tousled, wrapped in one of Benjamin's shirts, her bare legs crossed on the bed. She didn't flinch under his gaze. Instead, she reached calmly for the water bottle on the nightstand and took a sip, as if he were nothing more than an echo from a distant past. You, he breathed, voice shaking. How could you with him? His voice cracked mid-sentence. Daniela, who had followed the noise barefoot down the hall, stood behind him. Her expression shifted from confusion to horror to rage in a matter of seconds. Santi, she whispered, tugging at his sleeve. But Santiago didn't move. He was locked on Aurelia, as if seeing her clearly for the first time in months and not liking what he saw. Benjamin stepped forward, blocking the doorway slightly. Go back to your room, Santiago. You've caused enough of a scene. She was mine, Santiago muttered, as if trying to convince himself. She was never yours, Aurelia said, her voice soft but sharp enough to cut bone. Not when you chose to forget me. Not when you gave my design away. Not when you slept with her and laughed about it. Daniela's face turned pale. You told her? I read it all, Aurelia said coldly. Your little kitten costume. His promises to come back to me when he's done playing. She stood up now, slowly, with deliberate grace. Her eyes met Santiago's. But I'm not something you get to come back to. Aurelia, he choked. I didn't mean you meant every word, she interrupted. You just never thought I'd stop begging. Santiago staggered back.
For a second, he looked almost childlike lost.
Daniela finally grabbed his arm and pulled him away, her voice shrill with panic. Let's go. What are you doing standing there? Are you really going to embarrass both of us? But Santiago didn't move. It wasn't until hotel security appeared at the end of the hallway that he finally turned and walked away, his shoulders slumped, his world unraveling behind him. Benjamin closed the door gently. He turned to Aurelia, who had already sat back down and crossed her legs again, serene as ever. Are you okay? She looked up at him. I should ask you that. You lost your best friend tonight. Benjamin chuckled darkly. If I ever thought he was truly my friend, I wouldn't have helped him lie to you in the first place. Aurelia didn't respond. Instead, she got up and walked to the window. The night outside was clear, stars scattered like memories, some bright, others dimming. We're graduating tomorrow, she said, almost to herself. Isn't that wild? Benjamin walked over to stand beside her. You ready? She looked at him, eyes shining but not from tears. I think I've been ready for a long time. The next day, the graduation ceremony was short but emotional. Flashbulbs popped. Bouquets flew through the air. Cheers echoed across the courtyard. And through it all, Santiago sat alone at the far end of the rows, Daniela nowhere in sight. His eyes never left Aurelia. She didn't look at him once. After the ceremony, Benjamin handed her a small envelope. Inside was a printed boarding pass. Northern Europe, he said simply. Aurora Borealis. 2 tickets. You and me. She blinked, stunned. You remembered? Of course, he smiled. You said once, if 2 people could watch the aurora together, they'd never be apart. She bit her lip. But that was a dream I had with him. Maybe, he replied, but now it's a memory you can have with me. Her heart tightened. Not from pain. Not anymore. From something warmer. From something that felt right. She slid the ticket back into the envelope and placed it gently in her purse. Let's go pack, she said. We've got a world to see. That evening, Santiago sat by himself at the edge of the empty graduation hall. The last rays of sunlight painted golden streaks across the walls, but he didn't see them. He held his phone in both hands, staring at the empty chat box with Aurelia's name. He typed something, deleted it, typed again, then stopped. He scrolled back to their old messages, the ones where she'd sent him photos of the rural school, her sketches, her silly late-night snack cravings. His thumb hovered over the screen. He wanted to say he was sorry. That he remembered now. That the scent of that cheap strawberry shampoo still haunted him. That the way she used to scold him gently when he overworked was something he now missed desperately. But it was too late. She was no longer the girl who cried at bars or begged him to come back. She had walked away. And he had stayed behind. Summer settled in quietly, like the soft hum of a song you once loved and nearly forgot. Classes were over. The campus emptied out, and for the first time in years, Aurelia could breathe without feeling like something was chasing her. No rumors, no stares. Just a warm breeze through half-open windows and a future she was finally ready to walk into. Life beside Benjamin unfolded gently. No fireworks, no chaos, just calm. He'd take her grocery shopping and always remember to grab her favorite yogurt. He cooked. She cleaned. He watched her sleep like it was the most sacred part of his day. Sometimes, it frightened her how steady love could feel. How peaceful. Like something she didn't quite deserve after so much pain. And yet, here it was. One lazy Sunday afternoon, Benjamin brought her to the family Estatia sprawling manor tucked behind layers of hills and silence. His parents welcomed her with a grace she didn't expect. His mother, elegant and kind, took her hands and said, "So you're the girl who made our Benjamin come home early for meetings." Benjamin turned pink. Aurelia laughed. Over dinner, she learned stories about him as a child, the tantrums, the stubbornness, the shy smiles he only gave people he cared about. For once, she felt like she was walking into someone's world without needing to ask for a seat. Later, while wandering through the private library, she found a photo album tucked between dusty journals. She opened it out of curiosity. Inside were pictures of the photography club from their freshman year. She recognized everyone instantly: Santiago, Daniela. And in the background of nearly every shot, Benjamin. Always close. Always watching. "You really were there all along," she whispered. Benjamin appeared behind her, resting his chin on her shoulder. "I was going to confess back then, right before I left for the UK. I had even written a note." He handed her a yellowed envelope. Inside was a faded piece of notebook paper. It read, "If I could capture one thing forever, it wouldn't be a sunset or a mountain, it'd be you, in that moment, smiling at me like you meant it." Her eyes burned. "Why didn't you give it to me?" "Because I thought you deserved someone who could stay. And I was leaving." She turned to him slowly. "But you came back. And this time," he whispered, "I'm not going anywhere." She kissed him then. Softly. With all the tenderness she'd forgotten she had. That night, after they made love for the first time in his childhood bedroom where his trophies still lined the walls, Aurelia lay beside him, listening to the sound of his breathing. "I used to think love was supposed to be hard," she said. "Like it had to hurt to be real. But this feels different." He smiled against her skin. "That's because it's not supposed to be a battlefield. It's supposed to feel like home. Outside, the sky rumbled. Summer storms were brewing. But Aurelia felt nothing but safe. A few weeks later, the acceptance letter from her dream graduate program arrived. Scholarship included. She squealed, danced barefoot in the kitchen, and nearly knocked over a plate. Benjamin caught her mid-twirl. "So," he said, grinning, "does this mean I'm dating a future design legend?" "That," she smirked, "depends on whether you do the dishes tonight."
Deal.
They laughed. And somewhere, far away, the last memory of Santiago finally faded into silence. He didn't contact her again. Not after the graduation proposal. Not after the public humiliation. He had vanished, leaving nothing but a few bitter headlines and the echo of a love that was never real to begin with. Daniela, too, disappeared from campus life. Some said she transferred schools. Others claimed she was working in retail in another city. But Aurelia didn't care. Their stories no longer intersected. Her life had branched in a new direction, one that didn't involve pain wrapped in pretty lies. One quiet morning, as she sipped tea on Benjamin's balcony, he came out holding a camera. The same old one they used during their photography club days. "Still works," he said proudly. "Want to take a photo?" She smiled, pulled her hair over one shoulder, and posed. He clicked.
Once. Twice.
Then lowered the lens. "Actually," he said, walking over, "I want to be in this one with you." He set the timer and joined her. As the shutter clicked, she leaned into him, resting her head on his chest. When the photo developed later, she saw it clearly. Two people not perfect, not unscared but smiling like they'd finally made it home. Not every love story starts clean. Some rise from ashes. Others bloom after long winters. But the ones that last, the ones that matter, are built not just on passion but on patience, on choice, on the quiet miracle of being seen. And Benjamin had always seen her. 3 years later. December in Northern Europe was colder than Aurelia had imagined. The snow fell softly, like breath, settling quietly onto rooftops, gloves, and scarf-covered shoulders. High up on a quiet hill just outside a sleepy Norwegian village, she stood beside Benjamin, her fingers nestled firmly in his, the warmth between them shielding her better than any coat could. Above them, like a curtain torn open by the universe itself, danced the northern lights. Brilliant waves of green and violet rippled across the black canvas of the sky, spinning and folding as if painting emotions with light. It was the moment she'd once dreamed of. Only now it meant something entirely different. "It's beautiful," Benjamin whispered beside her. "But not as beautiful as you look right now." She let out a breathy laugh, cheeks tinged pink from the cold and from him. "You still don't know how to say something without making me blush." "That's the point," he grinned. "Only the people you love get to see that side of you." She turned her gaze back to the sky. For a moment, they stood in silence, letting the universe swirl above them. Then she said softly, "You know, if I had come here with Santiago back then, I think I would have cried." Benjamin tilted his head. "Why?" "Not out of happiness," she said, "but out of loneliness. I think I would have realized, right here, in this magical place, that I was forcing a dream with the wrong person. That even with all the stars and light around me, I still felt alone." Benjamin reached over and gently brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. "And now," she looked up at him, "now I feel full. Like everything I thought I lost, I found. This was the place I wanted to make memories in. And I did. But with someone who never made me feel small." He pulled her into his chest, arms wrapping around her tightly. For a long time, they just stood like that, breathing in sync beneath a sky on fire. In that moment, she realized something. The past wasn't something to erase. It was something to outgrow. Her love for Santiago had been real, but so was his betrayal. The pain, the humiliation, the nights she couldn't sleep, they were scars. But Benjamin was the warmth that helped them heal. He had seen her when she was broken and never once asked her to hide the pieces. He simply held them, and over time helped her rebuild. Back in Oslo, where she was now completing her master's degree in design, life had begun to bloom in quiet, steady ways. Her scholarship had led to multiple collaborations with Nordic design houses. She had her own studio now. Sometimes she even taught weekend classes to young international students who reminded her of who she used to be: soft, eager, and afraid to take up space. Benjamin traveled less these days. He said he preferred being wherever she was. He spent his time curating art books, building portfolios, photographing people in love, and somehow always made time to bring her coffee at the exact moment she needed it. One afternoon, while organizing old folders, Aurelia found a small notebook she had nearly forgotten. It was from her first year. Inside were sketches, ideas, and half-finished concepts. On one page, in the corner, was a quote she had scribbled absent-mindedly. "One day, I'll design something that feels like home." She stared at it for a long time. Then, with a pen, she wrote beneath it, "Found it. And I live in it now." As for Santiago, was now a name that carried no weight. Rumor had it he tried to restart his degree abroad but failed to regain his footing. The scandal had followed him. Some said he worked in marketing now, low profile. Others whispered he disappeared completely. She didn't care to know. Daniela, too, had faded. A forgotten name in a closed chapter. Once, Aurelia thought that story would define her. But standing here, in a warm kitchen in the heart of a foreign city, watching Benjamin hum while preparing her tea, she knew better. Some loves are lessons. Others are lifelines. The photo from their first trip to see the aurora hung on the wall now. It wasn't framed perfectly. A little off-center. The lighting uneven. But they were laughing in it, really laughing. And that's what mattered. On their anniversary, Benjamin handed her a small wrapped box. Inside was a new camera, the exact model she had once dreamed of when she joined the photography club.
"For the next story," he said.
She looked at him, eyes glowing. "What story?" He kissed her forehead. "The one we haven't lived yet." If you love emotional and surprising stories, don't forget to like the video to support the channel and help us spread more heart-touching stories.